Thanks for checking out ChartGuys.com, the definitive home for technical analysis online. Our passion is understanding the market and identifying trade opportunities. Our goal is to share our success with others through consultation, training videos, and educational course materials. Get the skills that will make you a more confident, effective, and informed trader. Join us today for access to daily analysis and live market coverage, a thriving community of over 1,000 active members, and hours of exclusive educational content. Come for the education, stay for the community.
Hey everyone, checking in. So, getting a lot of questions about this ticker and that ticker. Can't cover them all. Gonna cover them more in depth when we have individual names and I have more time over the weekend. But for now, it's what we got. So, we had the bounce day today. Canadian MJ names, the major names, all had pretty solid bounce days. And they had bottom fishing plays off of their low of yesterday, first thing this morning. And key holds of those supports before the bounce got going. Then we have some names that have red flags, and we have some names that are bounce leaders. So some of the red flags, and we'll go into each name individually as we get there, but some red flags that I am seeing are VFF. I'll talk about that a bit in depth as to the red flags I see on VFF. And we had a red flag on GTII, bullish reaction to earnings initially, but closing at the low of the day is certainly not a good sign, and a potential bear flag on the daily chart right now. And a red flag on IAN, very weak close down at the low of the day, lack of any bounce. Bull bounce winners, T-God, solid bounce, solid volume, close at the high of the day. CURA, huge bounce, close at the high of the day. And OH, big winner, big volume, beautiful daily high or low has been established. KSHB had bad news. APHA and ACB had some news pre-market that helped with their bounces. They're looking good with some strong closes. So that's the summary. That's the end of the video. See you tomorrow. So we got CGC holding that low by 6 pennies today, and then the bounce got going. And the bounce had some nice follow-through behind it. And the key range we were watching is the low of the day and the high of the bounce from yesterday. So breaking 42.18 after holding the low of the day gave the bulls confidence. Now we did close in consolidation mode with the bulls looking for an hourly higher low to form. We do not have an indication that the hourly higher low has formed, just like yesterday. Yesterday the consolidation was in the afternoon and we didn't have a support established, so we flushed first thing and then found that support. So we don't really have a clear support aside from 42.05 and then the low of the day. So the bulls are hoping that higher low happens the sooner the better to try and get follow through on this bounce. Keeping in mind that general rule of thumb, any individual name tomorrow that does not break its daily inside bar, if it has one, if it does not break bullish, that's a red flag on this bounce. That shows a lack of bounce follow through. Right now, we know CGC is doing nothing to change any daily trends. We have the low, high of the bounce is 44.17, higher low is trying to form at 41.19. If we break the inside bar bullish, it will be set, but it's all about 44.17 because anything under that keeps the bears in control. The 12-period exponential resistance rejected the price 3 times last week, and we're heading up to test that level again. Cron. So similar in the sense that we held that low of yesterday first thing. We held that support by 11 cents. We broke 17.93 resistance. Healthy consolidation at the end of the day on declining volume, and that level is 17.90 support, and we got a bounce off of that level. So you can see the low bear volume and then the bounce follow through. Compared to CGC, it's different because CGC did not see any of that same bounce follow through, so we can't be confident in the higher low on CGC, whereas for Cron, we can be a bit more confident in 1790 being a short-term support level. So same thing on the daily chart. It's not an inside bar, but if we do not break 1876, it's just a daily lower high, keeping the downtrend intact. So it's all about 1876 from here. That's about 4% from where we stand. And we need more follow-through is the bottom line. And if we lose the hourly uptrend on any of these names without breaking daily resistance, it's just a daily lower high. APHA, solid close. So bulls held the low of yesterday by 3 pennies. So bottom fishing plays galore. And again, that's just entering in the morning, putting a stop below the low of yesterday, and hoping the bulls follow through, and knowing that if they don't, you have small risk before getting stopped out. But big follow through, healthy consolidation in the afternoon to form that higher low, and we got a solid bounce off of that level to close near the high of the day. So 989 is support. We've got resistance at 1004, 1009, 1014. The most important level on the daily is 1014 and 1017. So if the bulls are really going to prove something here, break 1014 and 1017 tomorrow, and they'll certainly do it. So it's all about those levels, keeping in mind that APHA does have earnings next week. I believe the 15th, which is Monday. Double check me on that. ACB, similar to APHA. Key resistance, bulls have to break the double top at 930 to prove anything, but we did get that same bounce. And we had a bit of a more bullish reaction pre-market to its news, so it wasn't that close to the low of yesterday. But the same end of the day, hourly higher low of 901, and resistance is 913 and 930. So looking for follow-through. Bulls have proven themselves on the hourly bounce, but can they prove themselves on the daily follow-through? That's the question we're going to answer tomorrow. TLRY did not get any follow-through today. If this inside bar does not break bullish over 54.50 or 57.54 and 57.79, if we don't break those two levels tomorrow, it's a red flag. It's just a constantly tightening range, just sideways trading. Have to break those two levels in order to see this daily bounce play out. And even then, we're just looking for a daily lower high, perhaps just over $60. But if we do not break those 57s, we're looking at another leg down. OGI, inside bar, has to break bullish tomorrow or it's a red flag. Hourly chart did not change the trend. Could not break. Well, we broke it by a penny, but that's a double top. So we have the low, high of the bounce, higher low, double top, trying for a higher low. Have to break 937. If we break it, we zoom out and look for a lower high compared to 1003 on the daily. If we don't break it, the bears still have complete control. Hexo, daily inside bar, must break bullish. Anything on the daily under 891 is just a lower high, keeping the bears in control of the daily trend. Hourly support is 847 for the bulls to keep the uptrend. So at this point, as we're going through analysis fairly quickly, most setups are the same, where we need to hold hourly higher lows. If we lose hourly higher lows, it's a red flag. We have clear daily resistances where most of the names so far aren't proving anything to us unless they break daily resistances. Otherwise, these are just short-term oversold bounces to cool off RSI levels. Inside bars must break bullish tomorrow to get that follow-through. And let's keep going. TRST, daily inside bar. So we have our low of 965, high of 1041. And now we have a higher low trying to form at 973. Must break 1003 tomorrow, or it's a big red flag. If we break 1003, anything under 1041 is just a daily lower high. VFF. So what I observed going on with VFF today, and I did trade it, entered initially in the morning, and then day traded off of the low of the day to get out of the hole of being red. But when you see a big ask come up, and if it's blatantly big, there's two things going on. Number one, the person putting in that order is trying to sell their shares and they're foolish because they don't know what they're doing, because they're putting up a big wall and they're scaring people. They're showing their hand to everybody. They're allowing sellers to undercut their price, and they're telling bulls, hey, we're not going anywhere unless someone buys a lot of these shares. That's scenario number one. Scenario number two is they're putting up a big wall to scare people, to induce selling, to reject the price with no intention of selling their position. So TLRY, the high of the day yesterday, was that 40,000 share bid that I was talking about, which was 4 times bigger than any other orders we were looking at. So in my opinion, whoever put that order up is either a fool trying to sell 40,000 shares, or they were trying to stop the price and had no intention of selling 40,000 shares. It touched that level and then never got back to it for the rest of the day. So if we have someone who has a large position and they're trying to exit, they're not going to do it putting it all up at once. That's a bad idea. They're going to do it discreetly. They're going to do it in a hidden way to not scare away bulls into selling, so they're competing with sellers, and to not stop bulls from buying. So to see VFF go red today, where the only other red MJ name on my screen was KSHB, which had a big dump on news. We'll get to that in a second. But it was a red flag, and there was constant selling pressure on the 5-minute time frame all morning, and you can see it's not driving the price down. We're not flushing. We hit a low of the day. We see a weak bounce attempt, new low of the day with no follow through, weak bounce attempt, new low of the day, and it's just someone selling every time we get any little bounce pressure. So that tells me that someone is exiting a large position because the correlation was not there with the rest of the bulls. The buying power of the bulls today to try and keep up with the sector bounce was muted or counterbalanced by whoever was selling this large position. I don't know if they're done selling yet. We didn't close too weak, but we didn't close strong. And did make a bull break at 13.55, which was an entry. Actually, this is the Canadian ticker, but in Canada here it was 18.05. So I made a bull entry on the break of the lower highs and then just sold for a little 10 cent, 20 cent flip on the US ticker. But that lowered. I made an initial entry. Then I entered again on this bull break as a day trading position to lower my cost basis. So I got an entry right now in the US side of things in the upper 1350s, very slightly profitable, but I'm going to bail tomorrow and then look for a better entry if I see action that tells me someone is still unloading a decent amount of shares. So what it ended up giving us on VFF is an hourly tightening range. And let's see if the 15-minute is more clear. So 15-minute equilibrium is very clear here. Low of the day, MedMen News. I'll have to read that in a bit. Got to post it in the chat room real quick in case that is relevant. And I'll go back and read that after done the video. Bear with me. So VFF, we have our 15-minute equilibrium low of the day, high of the bounce, higher low. And if we break this 15-minute equilibrium bearish, we know that we're heading back down to that key daily support of 1676. There's no indication of a reversal at this point, and today was the day to get it, and the bulls failed. So again, that's a red flag. So if this 15-minute equilibrium breaks bullish, 1837 and 1885 resistances. If it breaks bearish, 1773 support, 17 psychological, and 1676. So we have to be cautious on VFF because of the price action today. T-God, a winner on the bounce, held that low of yesterday first thing, closed at the high of the day on increasing bull volume. Anything on the daily under 492 is just a lower high, so we're not changing this daily trend anytime soon. Next resistance is 442 and 448, but we're going to anticipate a daily lower high compared to 492, and if these bulls are going to change this daily trend and give us our weekly higher low, we're going to form a lower high compared to that level, have to hold the low of this pullback, and then change that trend, and that would give us our weekly higher low. So it's a good start, but we want the more follow through we get, the more space we have for consolidation to form that higher low. So the more upside we see, the more likely that daily higher low will become. CVSI, bull news came out. So this is the kind of scenario where I exited yesterday and I could look at this and say, darn, I shouldn't have sold. Why me? News came out and I would have been profitable in the trade. And in the end, we can't be in positions that need news to bail us out. So I have no problem with my exit yesterday whatsoever. I've seen this happen enough times that I know far more often than not, I would be happier exiting than I would hoping for a miracle. And this is a bit of a miracle. It's really nice timing. I'd be curious to know if the company released this news intentionally to try and counteract the clear bear break. That would be pretty technically and market savvy if they did. But we had clear resistance at 598. Anything under 598 is a lower high, and we topped out at 594. Hourly equilibrium is shaping up. Support is 579. We set a lower high at the end of the day. And now the bulls have to hold it's actually 566 is the higher low. So bulls have to hold 566 to keep in this equilibrium pattern. And we'll see how the hourly chart breaks tomorrow. If it breaks bullish, the daily lower highs will break. And that'll be a very convincing weekly higher low at this point. And if the hourly equilibrium breaks bearish, we're looking back down at the low of the day, 5.8 or 558. IAN, red flags, absolutely. And I may be close to cutting my long-term position if we lose this weekly uptrend of 651. Ain't got time for these weak bulls when there's strong bulls around. So we set an hourly lower high. We never change the hourly trend. What stands out right here? Decreasing bull volume, increasing bear volume, red flag. So we never changed the hourly trend. We broke a resistance level, but we need the hourly higher low and higher high to confirm a trend change. And we don't have that. So we only hope for the bulls tomorrow, hold 662 and break 697. But again, it's a very clear weak close on increasing bear volume. And in the last couple weeks, it has been a significant pullback for IAN as focus has shifted to these other names like Cura and CWeb and OH and CL. And again, monthly equilibrium looks very likely. Went over that chart yesterday, very correlated to CGC. And it does look like we're going to have to pull back and form a monthly high or low in the low $6 range or the upper $5 range. CURA bounced winner today, closing at the high of the day, held that low of yesterday first thing. So not exactly sure that our high or low on the daily has been set, but we're very confident. And again, we don't have an hourly trend change. We don't have the higher low and higher high. This move is coming straight off the low with every hourly candlestick being a higher low. So we still need the hourly higher low and higher high. This means it's a bit extended, so we need to be cautious. I would not be wanting to make a bull entry into strength tomorrow. I would rather enter on an hourly consolidation to form that higher low. And we're anticipating that a bounce is going to form a lower high compared to 1443. So hourly consolidation on watch for Cura, but certainly the bulls will take that strong close. One of the best bounces today. CWeb daily inside bar. And actually we broke support by 6 cents. But look at these little weak bounces, just clear lower highs. Bulls have to break 28.72 and 29.07 to kick this bounce off. And they must hold 28.04 and 27.80. So we do have a tightening range, but we need to see these bulls try and follow through and break this inside bar bullish. Again, it falls into the category where if we don't break this inside bar bullish tomorrow, it's a red flag. If it breaks bullish, our daily high or low is 27.80 and clearly established. But if not, we have not found that daily high or low yet. TRUL 4-hour equilibrium continues as anticipated. High, low, lower high, higher low at the low of today. And the range right now, 1906 support and 2050 resistance. And it's favoring the bears because we are 34 cents away from a bear break, yet we are $1 plus away from a bull break. If we break the 4-hour pattern bearish, we're in weekly consolidation mode. And we'll look for a weekly high or low compared to 1497. So GTII had an initial bullish reaction, but it's a red flag with how much we gave back of that bull reaction and closed at the low of the day. So resistance is 2014 and 2068, and support is 1963 and 1944. But this looks like a bear flag on the daily, significant pullback, weak bounce attempt, and if we drop down to that recent low of 1888, it is certainly a red flag. So bulls have to show up first thing tomorrow morning, because if the bears show up first thing tomorrow morning, we're going to break the few supports that we have before that 1888 low. OH, big bounce winner. Low of yesterday, 1131, double bottom, perfection of that bottom fishing play. Spike in bull volume is great. So if we're going to see continuation, I would look at this chart and say a lower high is more likely than not before today's candlestick. But you show me that candlestick and you show me that volume and I say, well, coming off the all-time high, yeah, we could see continuation over 1290. If anybody has a chance at daily continuation in these current setups, it's OH. Let's see if we have an hourly high or low. We've got support at 1192. That's the ideal level to hold to keep the bulls strong. Resistance 1235, 1278, and 1290. But a very convincing daily high or low is established at 1131. CL. Double bottom, 14. I take that. Nope, we held it by 11 cents, so held that low. Daily inside bar must break bull tomorrow. If it breaks bull, our daily high or low is 1472. If it does not break bull, it's a red flag that we have not found support yet. Hourly support is 1530. And I should say we have not found daily support yet if we do not break this inside bar bull. KSHB, pretty much saying there's an accounting error and they are going to report losses twice as much as anticipated. That gave us a weekly equilibrium bear break. So a lot of that bad news is going to be priced into earnings already. So if we keep weak, I believe I need to double check when earnings are. I believe they're tomorrow. If they're after hours tomorrow, if we start tomorrow week, I would be looking to buy this dip. The reason being what I explained in yesterday's video. Way overextended for the bears heading into earnings. A lot of the bad news priced in. And looking for some shorts to cover and some bulls to potentially buy the discount. But I would only like that play if we break 526 and head towards $5 tomorrow morning. Short-term resistance is 541. And if the bulls can break that level, that will take some pressure off, as that was the highest price we could bounce to today. So that's where we stand. Some clear distinctions between the strongest names and the weakest names. S&P 500 is still strong. We've got earnings for KSHB. And there was one more earnings that's coming that is now slipping my mind. TRUL, I believe. So inside bars must break bullish. Red flags on VFF, GTII, IAN. We'll see if those bulls can wake up and try and convince us that they're still around. Hope you have a good day. Hope you do some good things out there in the world. We'll see you tomorrow. So picking up story time, still in Costa Rica, and getting ready to move to the little house on the beach to do the house sitting. Still staying at the hostel at this point and exploring the jungle. Lots of hiking trails around and rivers to swim in and fun to be had. Some stray animals. So befriended some dogs and cats that were living out on the road, and they would sleep on our doorstep knowing that we were the good guys. This is a cool river spot that, again, everything's just a 5-10 minute walk from the center of town. Ended up getting an ear infection from that water, as my body was not used to the different microbes and things in that kind of environment, but learned some tricks. Obviously, there's no ATM in town. There's no doctor in town. So I ended up just getting some garlic cloves and some olive oil. And you crush up the garlic cloves and put it in the olive oil overnight. And then you use that as ear drops. And you can even just crush up the outside of the garlic clove and stick it in your ear overnight. And so after an elevated temperature and a clear ear infection for about 3 days, it went away and didn't have to worry about it. So nice that some natural remedies could help things out in that instance and didn't have to go to Panama, which is the border where there's the closest real town, but that's a 1.5-hour, 2-hour drive to get to. So I like ants at this point, but these ants are just insane. They would have these trails going along the dirt that would be so walked on by these paths of ant as they're building their nests and taking these leaves that it would literally be 4 or 6 inches lower than the ground around it in these little channels, just where these ants erode the dirt. And then, of course, rain falls on it, and then rain adds to that erosion. But they're literal lanes where the ants are just 24/7 the whole day, just back and forth, thousands of them in their commutes. So the best part about the ocean in the evening is the water and the air is still plenty warm to be swimming. So pretty much until you can't see anymore, the ocean is fair game. And it's pretty much a multiple day excursion to get into the ocean. Some cool bugs. And again, the plants and animals were one of the coolest things because I had never been in an environment that had all these different species, and to just observe them all, it was like a playground of life. So that's Cowboy. Cowboy was a little old dude, and his god was ball. Anything with a ball, that's all he cared about in his life. He was probably double digits age at this point, and he has since passed on, but he was still killing it in terms of running for that ball. As many times as you would throw it, he would go get it. So our job consisted of every morning walking 100 feet to the wide open beach that was to ourselves and throwing the ball for the dogs and playing with the dogs and swimming, and that was it. And this is Baloo. Baloo spoke Spanish and Cowboy spoke English. Baloo was much younger. So if you wanted her to come, you'd say, "Benga!" And Cowboy would give her a run for her money in terms of going after that ball. But they were a great duo to hang out with, so we spent the next 4 weeks hanging out with them. And I'll tell some stories, some dog stories where we fought off wild packs of wolves from the mountaintop. I actually already told that story, so some of you OG TCG viewers know that story. But it's a good one. I'll see you all tomorrow. Have a good day.